Hello, and thanks for joining us on the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Gen Con and the gaming capital of the world, this is The Established Facts. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 92 of The Established Facts. I am your host, Big Don, and starting with introductions to my right...
This is Dr. Deb and Baby Maggie.
This is Josh.
I'm Avital.
Lance.
This is Derek.
All right, and that is it for our table today. We had a lot of fun on episode 91 talking about vintage games and new generation gaming, but we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to get into some table dynamics. So this is mostly going to be a pure discussion podcast. Normally we'll do a versus topic, but we felt like this subject matter holds enough weight that it should be able to get us through for our time together. So
yes, our time together.
Our time together. Won't you be
That's
my
the
neighbor?
euphemism.
That's right.
That we're going to be talking about later on in the show.
Our time together. That's right.
Alrighty then.
All right. So the title of our discussion, or the direction of our discussion, is this: at the table. How do relationships inside and outside of the game affect the game and the game experience? Got it? Mm-hmm. At the table. Are we all down?
The role-playing
The
table.
role-playing table. The game of whatever role-playing it may be, whether Universal Storytelling System or Pathfinder, Dungeons & Dragons,
etc.
Yeah. Fill in Scrabble. Well, that's not really a role-playing game.
Dread.
Don't know what kind of Scrabble you're playing.
Right?
The fun kind.
Alrighty then.
Isn't that Candyland?
So, I guess to kind of get us kicked off in the right direction, one thing that I feel like is very important in general is the relationships that you have with the people that you are at the table with. And what I mean by that is it's very difficult, I find, even as an experienced gamer, to really build a good party dynamic when you're either playing with characters that have never established themselves with one another, or if you're playing with other gamers that you've literally never played a game with, or at least a role-playing game with. I mean, you could play board games with people, but still not really get that aspect of their gameplay. And an example of that is actually, we've talked a lot about Derek's series games that he's been running, and he's just restarted our second season of games. And we've kind of done a little bit of a shuffle with some of the players in different groups. And my brother and I have joined Josh Demaree and Dr. Deb and Lance's wife Vanessa's group, which is a different group than what we played with in the first season. And it's a lot of fun. The characters are totally different than the ones that we played with before. And that's kind of the fun in the challenge. But I could see the difficulty that we are having, in my opinion. And this may be some insider news for Derek, but he's probably already figured it out. But the difficulty that we're having right now is having only played one game as a group together. The group dynamic is essentially the three people who are familiar with each other, my brother who created a brand new character for this group, and then myself. And that's literally kind of where the lines are drawn. And it feels like, we're searching for some sort of bond in the party, whether it be a quest, or some sort of direction, whether it be some sort of divinely inspired thing, or if it's just the party initiative saying, hey, we need to go and do this thing, and if you go and do this thing with us, you'll get goodies, or what have you. Go ahead, Derek.
Oh, okay. So we had our first session at the beginning of February, and I will freely admit that was an abortion of a session. I mean, it was.
Goodbye, one listener.
It's the first time I've ever sat down to kind of rationalize a little bit for you guys for Derek. It was the first time I've ever sat down in a game with Derek, and Derek, after we took our our quintessential 5-minute break, kind of in between everything, Derek literally said, "Guys, I cannot finish this game right now."
This is the first time I've ever actually said that.
Yeah, it was, and it was kind of like
we all were so confused.
We all sat at the table and we all kind of went, "What? That sucks."
What?
Like, but I mean,
Vanessa wanted you to just play through it.
Yeah.
Vanessa was like, just come up with something else. Just do something different. And Derek's like,
and as a
no.
GM, I totally understood. You're just kind of like, I've been so derailed, and not necessarily from anything that we did or did not do. It's just the way that the game progressed. It just did not go the way that it was intended to go, and it was
went
just
to
like,
a section that I wasn't really prepared for.
right, exactly, and
it requires a lot of
interesting.
preparation. So yeah,
I can totally see what you're talking about. It's odd to be the new guy in a group of established players already. So for your character to be the new guy in this already established relationship, it doesn't matter which game you're a part of.
Right.
I did the same thing with the Avital's group, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But any group that you go to, if there's already an established party, when we did our, was it the Pathfinder Society game, the GM that we had let us know that we were a little part of this great big thing, and we were only going to be able to do minute things. Now, granted, we were every one of us in this giant room in the ballroom of the convention center, working on the same tasks at the same time. But knowing that we were only this one minute little thing in this greater cosmos, I'm like, wow, I'm really insignificant and not able to do much here.
Right.
Now, I think the way you get past that is you make yourself indispensable, or you find the niche that you can fill and no one else can. Deb and I, we play healers. Parties were always going to need that. So as soon as they get into combat, I got this. I know exactly where my role's going to be. If you're a thief, you might find the place that you fit when the party gets into the area where they need a door unlocked. Or, hey, there's a lockbox, and nobody here has lockpicks. How are we going to get in there?
Yeah, another way of doing that, because Mike and Kayla changed characters as well.
Oh, did they?
Oh,
Did
wow.
they?
Wow.
Yesterday, yeah.
Okay, that's a big deal.
They're no longer playing. Their first
Are they
two
not even
characters,
playing the same race?
They're not playing the same race, but in the first season, they were playing a married couple.
Uh huh.
Now they
Eric
don't know.
and Regina are gone. Oh,
No, Eric and not them.
No.
not them. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm in a different.
No,
Okay.
it's their care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now they said that they're not going to play a married couple because they didn't want to get hamstrung
Okay.
by that.
Okay.
And in case they didn't want to play the character, like Kayla didn't want to play Summoner anymore.
Okay.
So it didn't make sense for Mike's character to continue on without his wife.
Right.
Right.
And that definitely makes sense, and exactly explaining it in that manner too. Like she no longer wants to travel. I mean, you can even RP it out like even if it's just a short session with your GM, she no longer wants to travel. I'm going to stay with her. She is my wife in game, and that's where my character would go with that.
What brought Kayla's character into the game was putting her into danger. So the other
Original for their original.
No,
the
this
new
is the
group.
new group.
They're new characters.
New characters. So it was there are certain spells that will just decimate. It's like save versus death,
Right.
and she didn't save versus death, and so she was dying, and so the other characters had to use resurrection type spells on her. So that's one way of bringing some sort of cohesion is through adversity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
We had a little bit of that in our first game, but I think the problem is there's a lot of boisterous personalities in that group,
To put it mildly,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's a very
Everyone but Deb.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but
his brother.
more. What I mean is
Not when he's playing with Don.
more. What I mean is this. More. What I mean is this. It's a struggle in the beginning when you're trying to establish a party, and now, granted, the 5 of us have all gamed together in Pathfinder, in board games, and all kinds of different situations. We've all gamed together as players. We understand how each other play for the most part. But even that being said, because we are playing new characters amongst each other, there is still a dynamic that has not been met where there's a real cohesion. I mean, you know, I'm playing a thief in that game, and the cohesion for me is, well, the party that I was with is back at the tavern that I literally got forcefully teleported out of and do not know how to get back to. And I could go off on my own, but I've never been on this desert planet that that I'm currently standing on. So I might as well follow the people that are still living and breathing to see if they continue to be living and breathing. And if not, being a thief, I'll just sell their stuff. You know, it's that kind of, but it's that kind of, like, that's kind of where my character is right now, is just kind of a tag-along, kind of a third wheel. And again, I mean, it's the first game, you know what I mean? And we only got a couple hours, 3 hours into it. So that's definitely something that we're dealing with. Go ahead, Lance.
I think you're hitting on something very important, is each game is like a TV episode. In fact, we even call our games episodes.
Right.
When you watch any television show, episode 1 is all about telling you who the characters are, giving you a little bit of background so that you kind of emote with those characters, and then you see how they get going. I'm reminded of the TV show Scrubs.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, so a few people have seen the show. It's a show about doctors and nurses in a hospital, and it's a comedy, but it's also a dramedy. They face real-life situations. And in this show, the writers said that there were 2 characters that were supposed to be love interests, and that is the main character, JD, and one of the nurses, Carla. The way the show worked out and the way the writers kind of took the direction of the show, they didn't really have any chemistry. They didn't work out together. So another doctor, Dr. Turk, comes in, and he has the relationship with Carla. So now these 2 have a relationship that the protagonist was supposed to have. So he has to have relationships with somebody else, and we see the show through his eyes. That's kind of how these games go, and that's how any first session goes. You have a one-person's view of things, and the way you meet everyone, you decide what the relationships are going to be. But then the game decides what the relationships are really going to be. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the way it goes.
I think there's an interesting...
Sorry, I had to say this.
Okay.
Lance took his headphones off to kind of cough away from the mic, and I literally thought, like, that's my point. Mic drop. That's Thank you for your time. I am leaving.
I've said my piece.
I said it.
I'm done.
Sorry, go ahead, John.
Well, so when we were originally discussing this topic, there were 2 elements to it. The concept of having relationships with someone off the table and a relationship in-game. So why don't we start off the table? Because I think in-game's going to come because of our relationship outside of the table. I know my wife and I, Deb, has been playing role-playing games now thanks to being introduced to the Red Hand of Doom with Don, and being reintroduced to the gaming element after being scared away from our multi-level gestalted characters that the Freeland residents had us doing. But it's always been a pleasure for me to have my wife sitting here playing games with us, even when we have characters who don't always agree on how things go. It's quite entertaining to listen to the 2 of us argue over things, because very often we may both play chaotic good characters, we both enjoy to play good characters, but we're always playing that opposite spectrum. I mean, in this one that we're mentioning with Derek's Mythic game, I'm playing a sorcerer who has a gargantuan dragon, and she's the cleric. She's the healer. I'm wanting to blow things up. She's wanting to mend everything. It's so, out of game, off the table, we enjoy talking about it, talking about the stories, hearing about other sides of the table, other games and how their games have come along and progressed. And we're able to, even if we are arguing in-game, out of game, we're just laughing about it because we think it's funny most of the time, unless I'm the game master. Yes, or if I'm the game master and she's unhappy with the decision I made. But
Yes, timer.
I remember watching Mike Spider die.
a lot.
I do remember watching Mike Spider die, and I still remember going
Killed that spider
upstairs
3 times.
and being quite furious at him
He was the
each and every
biggest- He
time.
was the damage dealer.
I wasn't there. What happened?
Oh, my God.
So okay, so Erican has been mentioned quite a few times. I'm getting there. Mike Massey's character Erican was a druid in originally the world's largest city, which ultimately became the Destruction of Xenopolis game, and his big thing was he would summon in creatures, but he had a pet, a companion, or
Animal companion.
yeah, an animal companion that was a spider.
He was a
Because when we originally started the game, we were playing in 3.5, and he was playing an urban druid, and urban druids had the option of taking a spider, a giant spider, as a matter of fact, as a animal companion. So
Because who doesn't want a giant spider
So everywhere he'd go,
to fight off giant flies?
he would summon in creatures and send his spider to attack. So his spider was always early in the initiative and always right in the face of the bad guy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he just kept dying, and she just kept giving me crap because I kept killing his companion. I'm like, it's not my
entertaining.
fault.
The sad thing was, Mike was never really all that upset about
He
it.
wasn't.
But Deb was incredibly upset with this
Who,
idea.
as a relationship, was playing Lindariel, the sister to Eric.
Sister to Eric.
Erican's sister. So there was a connection there within game of
yeah.
why she was this mad.
Yeah.
Because
She
her
was
brother
his spider's
kept losing
sister?
her mate.
No,
No, she
Eric.
was Eric and Mike's character's
druid's
sister.
sister.
Yeah, the spider's name was Noctis.
And then Kayla was came in later on as his
As-
love interest.
yes.
Yes.
Who became, obviously, they became married in a different, as the story
storyline.
progressed. And so it was very entertaining to see her get at me for that, out of game as well as in game. But for the most part, we've been able to keep a pretty level relationship issue when it comes outside of the table. But it has helped because sometimes we don't have those similar disagreements. Well, we argue. I mean, every married couple does, and we have our opinions on
What?
things. But
No, don't agree.
as characters, it's pretty funny since she really gets into her character, and most of my characters, like everyone's, is an extension or an exaggeration of one part of themselves. It's pretty entertaining to see those exaggerations argue, because we may argue and learn to be level-headed off the table, but on the table, well, oh my gosh, I got everybody shaking their head. But in game, the characters can take that exaggeration to argue at a whole other level, but also feel like in the game that Don was mentioning, Vanessa jumps through a portal for whatever reason. And no matter what we agree or what our opinions are of Vanessa's character at the time, I look right at her and go, we're going to have to go get her, aren't we? And she's like, yes, we are. And at that point, I introduce myself to the two new characters who just happen to be following along and go, now you at least know who we are. We have to jump through this portal.
And I thought about letting them and never turning back. And then I went, that would be a really boring game.
So,
And since we're talking about my wife, I will right on that grenade, and I will tell you that as a player, she really doesn't like when people do that. She doesn't like when people just make decisions and go with it. She likes to be discussed with and have a nice conversation. But because she is playing a character and her character is like that,
It's
she lets
impulsive.
that go.
yeah.
So being in a game with her, sitting next to her, I get to be the docile one, and she gets to be the outgoing one. Whereas in real life, I'm more of the outgoing person, and she is more of a sit down and watch things happen kind of person.
If I were to run a game and try to develop what you're talking about, that rapport with one another, with the characters, you would have like 3 to 4 sessions of just everybody sitting around talking.
That's what character creation night used to be. Is we're making our characters, okay, now you know a little bit about me, I know a little bit about you, and we kind of get to, okay, so this is my character's backstory. I grew up in this area, and this is this. That's exactly what players would be doing if they'd been, for example, hired by some old man in the corner of the room to go on a quest. Their first thing is going to be, okay, well, we're going on this quest. Who are you? What do you do? And then they're sitting around the campfire that first night. Oh, man, this reminds me of the time that I did that thing. Oh, yeah, well, that story reminds me of the story that I did. And they get that.
Which, it's funny to me that we don't, and I don't know if this is, I don't think this is just our group by any means, but it's funny to me that we don't do that because we do that in real life situations. Mm-hmm. When I'm put in a group of people at work, and they're, the first thing that whomever the managing person is at that time, the first thing they ask you is, hey, what are you qualified on? What can you do?
Right.
How can you help the group? Mm-hmm. Like, in real life, we do that. Like, when we go into a new project and you have 7 or 8 team members, you're going, okay, hang on. Let's figure this out. Okay, so you're really good at multitasking. That's awesome. I'm not. Okay, you're really good at taking initiative. Great. I'm not. I'm really good at supporting people and being that gung-ho right there behind you. Hey, let's do this. Get down in the trenches. Get down and dirty. I'm not afraid to do anything that you need me to do kind of person.
And scene. You all just witnessed Don Marter's interview at FedEx.
Yeah, well... But my point is, something that we don't do as often as we should is, and that could definitely be something that we can change through our gaming and stuff like that. That we don't do is to really get into the nuts and bolts of our characters with each other.
Well, 2 things on that. Number one, to be able to do that, you have to understand your character to a pretty good level.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
Right.
Not everybody does that in our group.
I agree. Not everybody does that in general, but yeah, definitely in our group, and especially when you're running 3 different groups at one time.
Well, I'm not talking about me. It's each person. It doesn't matter if you're a part of group A, B, or C.
Right. Each person
Each
has to understand their own character deep enough.
Right.
Which Lindariel did. I wrote her backstory in her original creation. Mm-hmm. I started writing an actual story. Like, there was an actual, 10 pages or 12 pages. It's in some computer somewhere in this house of her actual backstory. And then when she carried forward into the new incarnation of her in the... Sorry, moving my child onto my shoulder. I'm sorry. I bumped your head. I'm sorry. In her new incarnation, Josh and I actually, I think, butt heads at the beginning of it because I was going to use things I wrote in that story as Lindariel's backstory. And Josh was like, well, no, but that didn't really happen. And I was like, well, it did in my mind, and it's my character, so yeah, it did happen. Well, no, it didn't. Well, yeah, and so we had to have a meeting of the minds on that one because... To me, I did, because in my mind, it was real. Like, this is what her back was, and this is why she is, and you can't change that, because that's her, and, I'm very...
Would you be comfortable, because there's also an element of improv involved with that.
Yeah.
Would you be comfortable sitting around and saying, just talking?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love...
Yes.
And I'm pointing at Deb because she's the introvert.
Yes, I would, because I am improving as my character. It's not Deb, it's Lindariel. Mm-hmm. So, interacting... I'm sorry. My child is now interested in the fact I'm wearing headphones. I think this is hilarious. She's trying to figure out what's going on with that. Yeah, I would, because creating that relationship with the group is something that I agree with Don. I don't think we always do really well.
No.
And then we just sort of walk into the middle of this big dungeon, and we don't even know what stakes everybody has. Like, why are you here? Why are you here? And it's sort of like... And then we end up usually in a mess at some point, or the rogue doesn't want anything to do with this because he's just here to steal. The cleric's trying to do things for the good of the gods. The paladin's ready to fight. All of their motives are slightly, skewed. And so now we're in a mess like, I don't want to do the thing, but I want to do the thing. So to answer your question, yes, I would be interested in doing that.
Okay, so my second point was we actually did that when we were with the Beholder.
I was actually going to make that point as well.
Did we? Hold on. I'm thinking.
Because he
Thinking.
Yes.
Thinking.
he asked us several
December
questions about.
a year
Yes.
ago.
Oh, that was one of the. I love that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so
Avital's got both hands in the air, which you all can't
Yeah,
see.
it's just like, oh, everybody back away from the mics.
Touchdown. Okay. All right.
It's time for Avital.
all right. No, I mean, okay.
Patrol
I
throwdown.
haven't been gaming as long as I think everybody here, and I still feel like a newbie gamer just because, I'm not. I don't know, always how everything works on making my character do things and this and that, but I think having the background of the character is. I didn't realize like how important this was going to be for me until I started working on backgrounds for my character. Mm-hmm. And Derek, that session with the Beholder and having to like work up backgrounds and stuff was like so amazing. Like, oh my gosh, especially considering the position I'm in with my characters. Well, okay.
Just tell them.
All right. My first character that I played long term was a character called Tarala, who was a half-elf gunslinger in Dawn's...
I hate that name so much.
Shut up.
So funny.
In Dawn's Paragons of Palagain game that he was running.
Fault.
I told you, everything is my fault, and I'm okay with that.
All right. And Lance was playing a character in that game called Malach, was half celestial. Mm-hmm. And at the end of that game, everyone else in the party went off in another portal to somewhere else to have adventures, and the two of us went back to the world of Palagain because I wanted to look for my family, and the gods told him he had to be my guardian because he was, before that, the guardian of the whole party, and now he's just my guardian. Anyways, so this game that we're playing with Derek right now, the character that I made for this game, her name is Castella.
Is a Maury episode.
It is a Maury episode.
We haven't even gotten there yet, Derek. Okay, her name is Castella. She is the younger sister of my character in the other game, Tarala. Just because when I was making a new character for this game, I knew it was still connected to the other game, even though it was in a different world. And I did have a younger sister in that game. Like, it was part of my backstory. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna be playing the younger sister. So I built up this character. And then when Derek said that we needed to like have the backstory, because we were gonna be having this whole session where all we do is just talk about our past, I was like, okay, well, this is exciting. So I knew Lance was still playing the same character, the Celestial, in the game. And so I worked with him on creating background for his character Malach and my character Tarala and my new character Castella, because since Castella was Tarala's sister, they would have known each other. So eventually it turned into this whole backstory of Tarala and Malach having a relationship, and then
interpersonal relationship.
Yes. What?
A very interpersonal relationship.
Yes.
A romantic relationship.
A romantic relationship.
I'm trying to stay away from the actual word because it is a family-friendly show.
I
But
know.
they do it.
Anyways.
They were together in all kinds
So
of
a
ways.
physical
This is-
relationship.
Yes. But this is all backstory. And I did actually write a short story of like an adventure that they had sort of in between games. That was super cool. I've mentioned this once before. But anyways. But I never expected to be playing Tarala again, since I'm playing her younger sister Castella now.
Short explanation. The old Palagain blew up at the end of Gen Con, which meant that everybody got destroyed except for a certain key set of people.
Yeah.
And so Trala and her husband, which I thought he
not
was
my
her
character.
husband. So
Okay. Yeah.
that's where I messed up.
Derek brought a husband into the picture. Anyways, that's a whole. But
Is he a librarian?
No.
I never
you have
thought
two
that I would
hearts.
play.
Oh.
I never thought that I would play Torella again because I thought that she was dead. You know, that she had exploded. And apparently she was floating on a spaceship in the middle of space somewhere with her husband,
Which was not Malak.
which was not Malak.
Yes. Because we
Malak, you are the father.
So at the end of
You're spoiling her.
at the end of last season, we beat a big bad guy, and the universe was talking to us and said, "I'll give you a boon, like you can have whatever you want." And I said, "I want my sister back." I thought she was dead. Suddenly, a spaceship lands in front of us, and my sister and her husband walk out, and they've been in like cold stasis for like 400 years. And I'm like, "Hey," and then.
What, you don't write?
You never told me.
And then
Wait a minute, it's my birthday, jerk.
and then it turns out that Torella is pregnant, and Malak is the father, and not her husband. Who
Oh, I didn't. I'm
That
sorry.
is the
I was
Maury
not,
Povich show.
I was
Spoilers.
I didn't know.
you didn't know?
I didn't.
No, but yes, she married the guy. He was her best friend growing up because he wanted to take care of her, even though she didn't love him.
And you were 30, and you hadn't bound anybody, so you made a commitment.
And my biological clock was ticking like this.
So,
To be
anyways,
fair, he was drafted into the army
yeah, he was drafted into the Angel
right
Army.
after.
Yeah. So, anyways, now we've started up the new season of this game.
And you're playing 4 characters.
I'm playing 3.
3.
I have
God.
She's going to soon be playing 5.
Oh my gosh.
I have my character of Castella that I've been playing for a year. Mm-hmm. My old character from the old game, my sister, and her husband, the ranger. So I've got a fighter, a gunslinger, and a ranger that I am all playing. And then to top it all off,
Brilliant.
surprise! Look, there's an angel that appears out of nowhere.
Uh-huh. Hey, guys.
Hey, guess what? It's the father of my babies.
Yes.
And just to clarify, she is having twins.
Oh,
Yes.
lucky you.
Pregnant with twins.
They're
Hey.
not split fathers, are they?
No.
I tried
No.
really hard.
No.
Really wanted it to be one.
Sorry, I
Fraternal twins
yelled
from
into
two
the
different
microphone.
fathers.
I really wanted that
Nope.
to happen.
Yeah,
That would be
not.
so
no,
weird.
impossible.
Oh, wait a minute.
We have a medical doctor.
We have a medical
that has-
doctor.
No, I'm saying it's impossible because I know what happened physically with Torala. Thank you very much.
Sorry, she
I'm not going to get into the middle. That's a story. That's her story of her character. I know what that's like.
But physically,
Is it possible? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Is the percentage of
I was
likelihood?
going to say, wouldn't you have to have 2 eggs at one time?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
I
what
was gonna
fraternal-
Which
say.
a woman would release 2 eggs, which can't happen fraternally,
Right.
and she would have to be with 2 guys within a very short period of time.
Like within
Which is why I'm
2 to 3
saying
days.
it's
2 to
not
3 days.
2 to
possible.
3 days.
Derek.
Deb's saying biologically, yes.
because the story emerging from that, the inter-character dynamics of that would just be awesome.
And the bard you're going to hire to test paternity, that one?
It's Maury.
Yeah.
So yes,
So all of this to say that backstory is very important when it
Because-
comes to having relationships
Good
between
Lord.
player
We get to
characters.
role play
Right.
out this crazy interaction of
Avital talking to herself for half an hour.
hey, of my character like seeing like the man she loved that she thought was like dead, gone, whatever, that she thought she was never going to see again, and
Yeah.
she's pregnant.
this was a
with his
half an hour
babies.
between those two people.
It's like a
Like,
general
it's
hospital.
amazing.
episode.
And
awesome.
I mean, I have a feeling that it's not going to end happily for someone.
Well, you got yeah. So you've got
But it's
you've got a
just crazy,
sister,
like-
who's pregnant with twins, who's married to a guy that she doesn't really love, who
Correct.
sees the father of her children,
And the man
who
she
happens
does
to be
love.
the guardian of her sister,
Yes.
who thought she was dead,
Whoa.
and therefore is now a almost 2-time aunt.
I've got it.
I think
I've got
I
it.
almost-
Your entire story is a Shoots and Ladders game.
Well, he started at 1, then he went to 32, and he hit that shoot.
All this to say that I really like having the backstory and being so deeply connected to my characters. just because it makes the game so much more like real for me, so much more interesting and entertaining. I mean, no offense to Josh and
the Disney the Rapanathant game. Yeah, no,
I'm not all that into like just dungeon crawling. You know,
it was put together. I wasn't expecting some big storyline yet. It's
like,
cool.
I no, but I mean, just like that's not not my thing. You know,
it's cool.
Just like going through a dungeon just to go through a dungeon. I'm like, what's the point? There is no point. That's not fun for me personally. I mean, I like having more story than anything else.
Go ahead, Deb.
Well, in a slightly different twist on it, in that I love that Avital has had this incredible backstory. To me, I absolutely adore it, but I'm going to put the spin on it in being the character who comes into an already established party sucks. Mm-hmm. And I am never going to do it again.
Yes, it does.
Except for one very small variant that we will do, and we haven't even done it in about 2 or 3 years. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to bring it up. This is the Dalfor party, and the leader of the game who ran it kept trying to get me to create a character and come into it. And finally, I did, and we did we tried to build backstory into her. So we did the random roll up, the character where you had she had these events that happened, and she was this incredibly complex character, and she had all these details to it. But the actual role play itself was horrible. And I basically had a horrible time with it. And then I tried to figure out why, because I'd heard about the Dalfor stories. I'd sat and listened when they would game for 6 or 8 hours straight. Why did this suck so much? And it was just because I didn't have the time equity into that party that would actually have made everyone else and myself. It just didn't work. I wasn't a member of that party, even though I think I might have played 2 games with it. And then finally I gave that character up, even though she was really cool and she was hilarious and she was all these things. And we were like, oh yeah, the character concept is really fun. The character could be the most brilliant character you've ever made, but if the party dynamic, if they've been together for a long time, and then you just step in and are like, hey, I'm part of this. No, actually, you're not. So she finally got a redesign. She still exists. She pops in every now and then as a companion who, in the genre of Doctor Who will travel with Dalfor for a short period of time. And she writes, she's basically like his blogger about what he does. That's what she does. She writes about the stories of Dalfor. She'll travel at different times in Dalfor's timeline. And because there are all these deific, whatever ridiculous things, Dalfor will appear. He'll be old, then he'll be young, and then he'll be middle-aged, and he'll be young again, and he'll travel with her, and she'll just write these down. She steps in for one episode, and then that's it. She's not like a permanent, will always travel. She just kind of steps in every once in a while. That worked. But I tell you, it was a horrible feeling to put together a character and spend literally hours on it, build it, get into there, and really be excited about wanting to play and realize you can't play it because the character, it's not anything the character's fault. It's the party dynamic won't let you in. And it's a horrible feeling.
It's also very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got that. If you're coming into a world and a storyline that is long-term developed.
Yes.
That was one of the downfalls of the Gen Con game.
Yes.
Because I wanted to have something that, I knew it was a con game, so I knew people would be coming in and out and joining, but I didn't realize how deep the storyline got.
You had a lot of players who played Mary Beth was there the entire time.
Right.
What was it, 7 years in a row?
Yes.
Yep, we didn't miss one.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Josh didn't miss one. Tony, I don't think ever missed one.
He missed one.
He missed one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
But still, that's a long.
That's a long-term story with a lot of established characters.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are being introduced. Like Avital was introduced. I'm not sure if you have been introduced to Alpha and Omega yet.
I don't.
I think we
Okay.
were in our game and they were kind of jerks a lot.
Well, then yes, you have. So
you absolutely met them.
Yes, you have met them.
Yep.
Go ahead, Lance.
All right, so I'm seeing and hearing both sides of this. I'm going to start with the Deb and this being in the outsider. Having had the job in the military that I did, I was pretty much forced to join already established squads of soldiers. And When you are a soldier, you train with the same people that you work with every day. You deploy with the same people that you've trained with for months and years. You are an established unit. And for you to have an outsider join you, a lot of the mentality is, oh great, now we have to cover this person as well as ourselves. And we don't have the resources, or we don't have the time to train this guy or to make him a part of our group. So, yeah, being the outsider in real life sucks. The way that I kind of worked my way into those squads and units was to find out what we had in common, or to find out what role I could fill that they needed filled. Sometimes it was just to carry gear. Sometimes it was to hold the hand of somebody who was hurting. You know, it's a lot of different roles, and sometimes it's just there to listen to them tell their stories, or to let them know that their mom and dad back home, or their girlfriend, their wife, their kids, whatever, will know that they're alive just by talking to me. And then you kind of work your way into the group. You are the outsider, but then you're that group's outsider. And eventually you work yourself into the group through playing. Now, with having great backstory, it gives the DM a chance to, okay, you're not working into this group. Let me reach into this giant bag of story that you've created. And Derek really doesn't like this because I come up with 16 pages of backstory per character. And he's like, I didn't read the first paragraph. It was too long, DL. But in that backstory is a great number of things that you could say, okay, you're not fitting into this group. They're doing their own thing. I could reach in. I could grab this one character that you know that they don't, throw it at them. All of a sudden, you have a reason to be there. You could be the interpreter if that guy only speaks one language, and you happen to speak it, and they don't know what to do.
I still use the questionnaire. Like, I looked at the questionnaire before the first session that you guys did with the Beholder. So I still have those pages, and I still pick from those.
Yeah, see, a great DM will do that. Will take, and, you know, not trying to kiss your butt or anything, because I think you're a great DM and a great storyteller. But a lot of DMs, they read backstory, or players, they make a backstory, and it's, this is where I was born, this is what I'm doing now, this is my class, and period. Done. And, you know, you can play a game like that, but if you know a little bit of your backstory, like Avital and I created an entire backstory for these two loved characters on email. Derek had no say in it whatsoever until we presented it to him and said, this is what we'd like to accomplish. And he said, run with it. And now, because we did that, he's got a great story hook for something that's coming up in his game later. I think that's a great way for backstory to come into play.
I'm worried.
Josh, I'm curious, and Deb, I'm curious. And then I'm going to ask you, Lance, this. Do you think that in character you would be able to play a romantic relationship with another player's character?
Well, this is. I'm very curious to hear her, because I have.
You have?
I have.
Okay.
I did in the Dalfor game. Granted, part of this whole Dalfor game is this premise of the Madarian almost brotherhood, where initially it was all men, and all men would had the ability to marry multiple wives. Now, I happened to marry one of the characters in the game. Jenny, actually, she may or may not listen to us, and she was playing. I was playing a monk, drunken master, and she was a half fiend.
She's half fiend, I know that.
Her name was Kazana, and I cannot for the life of me remember if she was a samurai or no. She was a chaos monk. Anyways, so
She also had some barbarian in her.
yes, I
She
have
could
no.
also
I
range.
really to this day have no idea why in the world it all worked out.
But
it was
were
just-
you in a current relationship with Deb at the time?
I was with I over the course of time one girl, and ultimately ended up with Deb at the time. So I had been in other relationships while this was going on, and it really wasn't a big deal for me because it was all out of game, and we never really focused a lot on the romantic relationship as much as it was a. You know, we always had each other's back. We always had a good time with each other, and it just kind of worked out that she became my second wife. It was so I had this real romantic connection to the first wife. She became the second wife, and it was a different thing. That when the wedding went down, we actually managed to underneath the nose of every one of the Midarians, make her Midarian. So she was the first female Midarian. It was just this big elaborate plan. So I actually became her first husband. So it was intense. I had done it in that game. Was it as romantic as it sounds like, Lance and Avital had done here? I don't think there was as much of a story in the relationship. But it was definitely there, and still to this day exists. So,
and Deb, would you?
I haven't. So, and I'm trying to give an honest. I think now the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. That is not what the answer would have been 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Whenever I actually started gaming, so maybe a little longer than that.
Right, but I mean, Josh had familiarity with gaming.
Right,
You're
right.
about at that point right now.
Right.
Now,
So
I can state, and this is not, don't want to take away from future opportunities by any means. I think it would be more difficult for me now. And frankly, it's because being married and having a child, this is trying to wrap my mind in any way, whether it's a fantasy character or not, around being with another woman would be difficult for me. I'm not saying I couldn't do it if the character called for it and made good story and everything. I could get behind it, but I can say now that it would be more difficult than it was then.
could you see yourself doing something like Avital and Lance did?
With the right person, yes.
Okay.
Frankly, I could have done with Avital. I could say that.